So Matthew, in the time that you've been here in Colombia, how do you see Colombia in this subject with this whole security, cybersecurity protection and everything here in government? How do you see Colombia in this subject, in this field?
Colombia is very much engaged in it. They have a lot of sophisticated technology. What I'd like to see is, are they doing the proper application of that sophisticated technology to make sure that they're protecting what really matters to the businesses, organizations, and the infrastructure?
You talked about recently on your speech over there that there was there's really this part of the engage that it's needed between the government and the private sector. How do you think that is working here in Colombia? Do you see some part of that?
I think Colombia is having some of the same challenges as the rest of the world. How transparent are the organizations? You know, it's tough for a company or an organization to say that they've been the victim of a data breach or a significant impact to the organization. So we have some of those same challenges. Are they really being forthcoming? Some of them, companies will be willing to work with government. Others will not. So some of it will probably have to come through stricter regulatory violations to force them to come forward, similar to PCI compliance, however, for the government.
Okay, and what about academia? I mean, what about universities? What is their role over here in this whole engagement between government, private sector, and the academic part?
Sure. I think the role for academia should be to make sure that they keep up with information technology and technology in general, because it moves very quickly. So I think part of that is making sure that they stay engaged with the government as well as businesses to make sure their programs are directly aligned with that, and not just practice in theory to make sure that it's realistic to the environment.
Is theory really applying in reality?
There is theory, but there's realistic impacts. What actually happens behind the doors when an impact occurs, and there's a lot that goes on that people read about, but there's a lot of other activities that go on behind the door. And there's a lot of other challenges because you're dealing with cross-border issues, regulatory, civil actions, criminal actions. At least that's what we see in the United States. So it's not just about Colombia's border. As you know, with data security, it's going to have cross-border issues as well.
Okay, do you think people are really aware about what this impact may have on their lives, about this sharing information in their internet? Are they really aware about what the risk that they're having?
Most people do not. They do not know until it directly affects them. Most of the impacts that they felt is based on credit card fraud. But at least in the United States, you're the victim of credit card fraud, you get reissued a new card, normally don't pay any of the penalties that are associated with that card. However, there's a longer term impact when the PII data, the personally identifiable information, is also exfiltrated from the environment. Those would be the equivalent to social security numbers, and I'm sure in Colombia you have the same type of unique numbers. Email addresses. Mm-hmm. So if usually it's a ripple effect that we see the hackers going after and targeting those specific individuals, whether it's identity theft or additional data breaches as well through phishing scams and other means.
Okay. What do you think about these forums, these events that we're having today here at this place? Do you think they're really useful for people, to be aware about this impact, this risk?
I think it is useful. I mean, it is useful. I mean, there's definitely no harm in the information sharing and seeing what's going on, both within Colombia and abroad. So that information sharing is absolutely critical. The question is, will it actually change the behavior of the individual, the corporation, or the government? Unfortunately, what I mentioned is a lot of times organizations or people are fixed on failure. They wait till an impact directly affects them. And usually those are the ones that are very, very costly. Whereas if they were proactive in the environment, those impacts are not felt. Even if they are the victim, usually the impact is much less.
Yeah, that's right. Do you have any recommendation, for Colombian government or maybe for an institution like us, so we can have any leadership in this subject, on this field?
I think it's to partner with the countries that are being directly impacted for the large-scale data breaches, the ones who have some of the more, I put in quotes, more advanced programs, because I have seen some stuff in Colombia that I've been impressed with. I've been very impressed with. And I think it rivals some of the technology in the States. So for example, some of the police forces. I mean, their forensic technology, I think, is very, very good. However, I think the difference in the United States, we're feeling these impacts much more, and the impacts are massive within the environment. I think where the biggest thing, I think the Achilles heel right now within Colombia that I mentioned a lot during my speech was it's a little bit taboo when you talk about the internal threat. Nobody likes to talk about that. That's similar in the US, but that's where I've seen the major impacts occur. And those are the ones that hit the hardest. And those are the ones Colombia needs to focus on. So whether it's through an external threat or somebody internally within the environment, doesn't matter because the impact is going to be the same. In fact, on an internal impact, often they're more. It's more of an impact in the environment.
Yeah, you're talking about the risk, the inside risk. When sharing information, does that make people more vulnerable or something like that?
It's got to be appropriate information sharing. While I was in the government, I always felt to share information. The government should share information. When I was on the private sector side, what I noticed is that there's a lot of difficulty with people having the discipline to contain that information internally. So only certain people have that information, or it's compartmentalized. Often in businesses, they like to shoot emails out to a whole bunch of different people to make sure that they have that information as well. Government learns early on the discipline in terms of compartmentalizing information and making sure that that information stays confidential and stays secret and on a need-to-know basis. Doesn't mean everyone needs to know.
Yeah.
It's on a need-to-know basis.
Mm-hmm.